Question for you. Should state-funded lotteries exist? Lotteries are a common way for states to generate revenue, often funding education or other public services. However, they also raise ethical questions about encouraging gambling and potentially exploiting low-income individuals who may disproportionately purchase those tickets. That's what we'll be discussing this week on Philosophy Friday. Hey philosophers, I'm Jonas, and this is Philosophy Friday. Welcome to our channel, where we dive into big questions that make us think. Today we're exploring a question that touches on ethics, economics, and personal responsibility. Don't forget to check out the question for next week so you can be part of the conversation. Today's question: should state-funded lotteries exist? Lotteries are not just games of chance. They are revenue-generating machines for many governments. On one hand, they provide funds for essential services like education and infrastructure without raising taxes, which some people argue is a win-win situation. On the other hand, critics point out that lotteries can be seen as a regressive tax, as they disproportionately affect lower-income individuals, who see them as a chance to escape financial hardship. Something interesting I learned when researching for this episode is that lotteries have been used since before the United States became a country. In fact, George Washington and other revolutionaries used lotteries to help pay for the Revolutionary War. But does that make it okay? If you're finding value in these philosophical ponderings, don't gamble on the odds. Hit that like button and subscribe to get more thought-provoking content every week. Let's see what our community has to say. Rachel R. says, no, just dumb. Cindy R. says, I think yes, it's immoral, but only because they don't really work. People who buy lottery cards often are people who can't really afford the investment of trying to win the money. Russ R. says, I think not, but for the reason that usually the people that create lotteries do it for education, but then education only gets a portion of the funds, and the rest gets used elsewhere. And then, because they have the lottery for education, they cut the regular dollars they were setting aside for education. Josh R. says, I feel like the idea of a lottery is fine and fun and exciting, but then the way lotteries are run in real life, it feels like they prey on and exploit people's desire for a better life, and advertise and target people who are struggling. So I guess I would say lotteries themselves are fine, but the modern-day capitalistic lotteries that exist are immoral. Thank you so much for your comments. It's because of people like you that this community exists. What are my thoughts? Personally, I believe that people who play the lottery are not doing anything immoral. They just want a better life for themselves, possibly. That said, it's not particularly wise. However, I do think that municipalities that offer a lottery for funding are preying on the most vulnerable among us. If we want funding for schools, we should just be taxing people who can financially afford the taxes. Now, before someone says, why do people always want to tax the rich? They got what they have fair and square. I'm going to have to disagree with you on that. Most of them got there through a combination of luck and exploitation of other people. If people were paid fairly, then there would be a lot less inequality and almost certainly less of a demand for a lottery. Thanks for watching and keep questioning. So what do you think? Should state-sponsored lotteries exist? Comment below with your thoughts. And if you like this video, then join our conversation for next week about whether universal basic income could be the solution to economic inequality. On screen now. It's people like you who make these videos possible, and the best way to keep this community going is by joining the discussion in the comments, and you might be featured in next week's video.